When your favorite sports team wins, do you feel like you won? And when someone talks trash about your country, your religion, your city, why does it feel like a personal attack? You didn't play in that game. You didn't write the laws. You weren't even there. So why does it feel so personal? Psychologists have a name for exactly what's happening inside you in that moment. And once you understand it, you'll start seeing it everywhere. Here's the core idea before we go deep. Social identity theory says this. You don't have just one identity. You have many, and a huge chunk of who you think you are comes from the groups you belong to. Your race. Your religion. Your school. Your job. Your country. Your fandom. These aren't just labels. They shape how you see yourself and how you treat everyone else. Because what comes next explains war, racism, team loyalty, school cliques, and online tribal warfare. And it all starts with one experiment that honestly should have been illegal to run. What you're about to see is something your brain is already doing right now without you noticing. Let's go. 1. The man behind the theory. Henri Tajfel was a Polish Jewish psychologist who survived World War II. He didn't just read about hatred. He lived through one of history's most brutal examples of us versus them thinking, where belonging to the wrong group could get you killed. That experience haunted him. And it drove him to ask a question that would change psychology forever. Why do people divide the world into groups and then automatically treat their own group better? What he found changed psychology forever. He discovered that your identity isn't just personal. Yes, you have your own personality, your memories, your own story. But a massive part of how you see yourself comes from the social groups you belong to. That collection of group-based identities? That's your social identity. And people don't just have a social identity. They protect it, because when your group looks good, you feel good. 2. The experiment that changed everything. The minimal group paradigm. Now here's the part one promised. And here's the uncomfortable part. The experiment that honestly should have felt illegal to run. In the early 1970s, Tajfel ran a study called the minimal group paradigm. Here's what he did. He took a bunch of strangers. Split them into two groups completely randomly. Flip of a coin. That's it. Some got told, you're in the blue group. Others, you're in the green group. No shared history. No common goal. No reason whatsoever to feel loyalty to anyone. Then Tajfel gave them a task: distribute points, basically fake money, between other participants. They could choose to be fair. Or they could favor their own group. You already know what happened. They immediately overwhelmingly favored their own group. People they had never met. People they had nothing in common with. People assigned to their group by pure random chance. And they still gave them more. That experiment broke psychology wide open. Because it proved something terrifying and fascinating at the same time. You don't need history to create an in-group. You don't need shared struggle. You don't even need a reason. All you need is a label. That's all it takes for the human brain to start drawing lines. And here's the part that should make you pause. You've already done this. Maybe not with fake money in a lab, but every time you've felt a little warmer toward a stranger wearing your team's jersey, that's the same thing happening. 3. The 3 core processes. Okay. So now you've seen what happens. Let me show you why. Social identity theory runs on 3 mental gears. And I'd bet you can feel each one in yourself once I name it. Gear 1. Social categorization. The first thing your brain does automatically, without asking your permission, is sort people into categories. Athletes. Nerds. Americans. Foreigners. My side. Their side. Your brain is a sorting machine. It simplifies a world that's too complex to process fully. You've done this with every stranger you've ever walked past, before they said a single word. The problem? Those shortcuts become stereotypes. You stop seeing a person. You start seeing a representative of a group. Gear 2. Social identification. Once your brain sorts people into groups, including you, the next gear kicks in. You don't just belong to the group. You become the group. Think about the last time you said "we" about a team you weren't playing for. Or the moment you first felt proud, genuinely, personally proud of something someone else did just because they were from your country. You didn't join that identity. You absorbed it. The group became part of who you are. Gear 3. Social comparison. And this is where it stops being harmless. Once you identify with your group, you automatically start comparing it to others. And you want yours to win, not because you're a bad person, but because when your group looks good, your self-esteem gets a boost. This is called in-group favoritism. We give our group more credit, more benefit of the doubt, more humanity. The out-group gets less of everything. Think about the last time someone criticized a group you belong to. Even a fair criticism. Did it sting a little? Did you feel a small urge to push back even slightly? That's gear 3. Right on cue. Those 3 gears spinning together, that's the psychological root of prejudice, discrimination, tribalism, and conflict. Not evil. Not even conscious, most of the time. Just gears turning. 4. The types of social identity. Now you don't carry just one social identity. You carry layers. And different layers switch on in different situations. Here's what that actually looks like. Type 1. Ethnic and racial identity. This is one of the deepest layers most people carry and one of the least talked about honestly. It shapes how you're perceived before you say a word. It shapes which rooms feel safe and which feel foreign. For some people, it's a source of fierce, beautiful pride. For others, it's carried weight they didn't ask for. Most people, it's both, at different moments. If you've ever felt a specific kind of warmth seeing someone from your background succeed on a big stage, that's this layer, alive and working. Type 2. National identity. The Olympics are basically a global social identity theory experiment. Billions of people who disagree on everything suddenly unite behind a flag for 2 weeks. National identity switches on. And notice how personal it feels when someone criticizes your country? Even if you have the exact same criticisms yourself? That's your identity defending itself, not your opinion. Type 3. Religious identity. Quick question: be honest with yourself. Have you ever felt genuinely offended when someone made a joke about your religion? Even a harmless one? That's not weakness. That's social identity theory. Religion isn't just a belief system for most people, it's the core architecture of who they are. Type 4. Professional identity. I'm a nurse. I'm a Marine. I'm a teacher. Pay attention to how people say those words. There's weight there. They're not listing a job. They're telling you who they are. And if you've ever felt defensive when someone criticized your profession even fairly, now you know why. Companies spend millions building culture for exactly this reason. They want you to feel like you belong to something bigger than a paycheck. Because an employee who has identity invested in the brand is a different kind of employee. Type 5, fan and interest-based identity. Don't dismiss this one. The psychology running inside a devoted sports fan and the psychology running inside a soldier defending his country are operating on the same hardware. The intensity differs. The mechanism is identical. Belonging. Pride. Protection. In-group. Out-group. That's why losing a sports season can genuinely feel like grief. Because to your brain it kind of is. Type 6, political identity. Right now, this might be the most powerful layer of all. Here's a real finding. Research in the United States shows that a significant portion of people say they'd be unhappy if their child married someone from the other political party more than they'd be unhappy about differences in race or religion. Sit with that for a second. Political identity has become so dominant it's overriding identities that used to come first. That's not politics anymore. That's tribal psychology wearing a political jersey. And if you've ever unfollowed someone, blocked someone, or felt genuine disgust toward someone not for anything they did, but just for what team they're on, you've felt this one running. 3 fast ones you'll recognize. School, the athletes don't hang with the nerds. Not hatred. Not even dislike. Just separate group identities building invisible walls. Online, go to any comments section. Watch how fast strangers form teams. Watch we and they appear out of nowhere. Nobody voted on it. Nobody agreed. The labels just activate. Work, sales team versus marketing team. Same company. Same mission. 2 group identities. Constant quiet friction. You've seen it. You've probably been it. Here's what I want to leave you with. The same brain that divides the world into us and them is also the brain that desperately needs to belong. Those aren't opposites. They're the same drive, pointed in 2 different directions. And now that you know the mechanism, you can catch it running. You can stop mid-reaction and ask, am I responding to this person or to the group I put them in? That question alone makes you clearer than most people will ever be. Because all it takes is a label for the brain to start drawing lines. Now you know that. The gears are still going to spin. That's just human hardware. But now you know what's running the software. That's social identity theory fully broken down. If something clicked for you today, hit the like. It genuinely helps this reach more people. Subscribe if you want more psychology that actually explains the world happening around you. Share this with someone who's been wondering why people act the way they do online, at work, in politics, anywhere groups exist. One question for the comments. Which label hits closest to home for you, and has it ever made you treat someone differently because of the group you put them in? See you in the next one.